Hi YouTube! So today I am back with another cancer related video, and this video is in response to a question I received on my cancer relapse story. So I want to read the question and then I'm going to make this video answering that question. So this says, she says, I'm praying for you. Would you consider sharing or making a video about any anxiety meds you take and if they help, or if you just handle the mental part on your own? So this is going to be a multi-part answer, and I'm going to go through how I dealt with the mental health part of being diagnosed with cancer at different stages in my cancer journey, because they were vastly different. So first of all, when you're first diagnosed with cancer, it's really quite shocking. Obviously, nobody thinks that they will be diagnosed with cancer, especially when you're young. You think, I'm healthy, I'm fine, la la la. And as I've mentioned in lots of my videos, at the time that I was diagnosed with cancer, I was working a lot. I was probably working 60 to 70 hours per week because I had a really stressful job. I had just started being a manager for the last few months in my job, and that entails a lot of work, and I was fine with that because that's what I wanted to do. And a lot of my identity was wrapped up in my job because that's just the kind of person I am. I kind of put all of myself into the work that I do. So when I got diagnosed, it's kind of like you're deleted from your regular life. Like, so, you know, you're used to getting up, going to work, working all the time, working at home, and then once you're sick, you're kind of like, you're taken out of all of that because, you know, you can't work usually, and you're sick, and you're just like, your whole life revolves around going to the doctor, and, you know, they dictate how your life's gonna be, like when your treatments are, when you need to go, and nothing is really in your hands anymore. So I was used to being like an independent working person, and then I was deleted from my life. So the best way that I can tell you truly how it is when you get diagnosed with cancer is the person that you were before you had cancer dies, and there's a new person that emerges. And that's truly how it is. That person that I was at the time that I was diagnosed with cancer, she no longer exists. She's gone. She'll never be back. And for me to say that now, like, I'm getting a little bit emotional, but for me to say that now, and just be calm about it and understand that that's the case, has taken me a long time. You have to realize that I've almost been 2 years being diagnosed with this, but that's how it feels in the beginning. So when I was first diagnosed, that person died, but I didn't realize it. I was still trying to chase being that person. So literally, people were still messaging me about work. I was still like worried about it. I didn't stop being stressed out about my job and things that needed to be done. Like, you know, my employees that I had the best intentions, but there were still people would message me about how kind of things were falling apart without me being there to manage the people, as far as like my team of people I had. You know, obviously it's a big shock when, you know, your supervisor immediately leaves and now there's all these people that are filling in and things are kind of in shambles. And I felt really guilty about that. I felt guilty about getting sick, and I was very stressed out about working for probably the first 3 months after I got diagnosed. Even though I was like literally fighting for my life, sitting in chemo treatments, I was still stressed about the work portion of it, and I was feeling bad about being sick, which is crazy now that I look back on it, but that's truly how I felt. So I got through the first round of treatments, 12 treatments, without being on any medication. As far as like depression or anxiety, to answer that question, I didn't do any therapy. The first oncologist that I had, if you mentioned mental health, he brushed you off. There was no support, nothing offered at all. So I just really, you kind of go into like a fight or flight like mentality, like I have to fight for my life. You focus on just getting through the shit, honestly. It's the best way I can say it. And so what I did, as I told you in my last video, I'm a very avoidant person. Like, I don't like to confront things that have happened to me. I like to avoid them. I don't like confrontation. I like to internalize things and push them to the back of my head. So that's exactly what I did. So I didn't take any medication. I didn't talk to anyone. I finished treatment. And like I told you in my last video, I went right back to work 6 weeks after chemo. I pretended to be the person that everyone wants every cancer patient to be, like the strong and inspiring person that could, you know, battle for their life and then come back to work 6 weeks later. Your hair's growing back, you're so confident about it, you know, and at that time I stepped back from the job I really worked for back to a lower job. And I did that reluctantly at the request of my family pretty much. And I mean, I knew I should do it, but my family was really pushing me to do it because they didn't want me working that much, because they didn't want me to be overly stressed out like I used to be. So I did that, but I always felt bad about it. I was like, you know, I had people that were like basically in charge of, you know, thankfully I had my boss, which I love her with all my heart. I was put with her, thank God. But I had other people that were like friends of mine that were not really nice to me or there for me during when I was sick, that were like above me now, and I never really liked that. And I don't know, I just felt like I was still trying to be that person, like I told you, that died, like that already died. I was trying to be the old me, and I was like, oh, I have to go back to being a manager. And like I started stressing myself out. And about like 3 months, I think, or 2 months into working again, I had like a breakdown. I was like, everything that I had just been through, it came flooding back to me, and I got really, really sad, really upset, just really like, I don't know, unhappy. And it like all happened to me like 1 week. I remember, I think it was just like the stress. My job is so stressful already, like no matter what job you do there, it's very stressful, and I think everything just came crashing down on me. And that was the point when I called the oncologist's office, and I was like, hey, I need help, like something to help me. Like, you know, I wasn't like gonna hurt myself or anything like that, but I was very anxious, very upset, very sad, didn't know how to deal with all these emotions. I asked them if they could help me find like a therapist. They didn't help me. I called all these like therapist offices that were like around my area. They're all booked. Nobody would help me. I finally got put on a depression medicine by my oncologist without him ever seeing me, which helped me a lot. I mean, but it's just like all they did was throw a medication at me and tell me to take it, and that was basically it. They didn't help me with anything else. And so I started taking that medication, and a lot of feelings I had of guilt of taking a medication, which is crazy now that I think about it. But I really was like, you know, this isn't me. When you take a medication, it's making you feel better, but you're not really better. I felt guilty about it, and now I think that's completely insane. If you need medication, like depression or anxiety medication, you shouldn't be ashamed of it, because it's an imbalance in your brain that you can't control. And this medicine puts you back to the baseline of what normal people have, and so you shouldn't feel ashamed of it. But that's how I felt at the time. I was ashamed of it. I was scared of taking it. I thought it was going to change me. It didn't. Obviously there's medications that can be wrong for you, and you have to find the right one. But anyways, so I got on the medication. I felt a lot better, but still I remember being at work and people making like these certain people making like snide comments to me about like when I wanted to start kind of like rebuilding back in my career. Comments like, well, you know that the only thing important is your family now, or just like these snide comments where it's like, of course I know my family's important, but it doesn't mean that I can't try to work back to where I was, or, you know, just these comments that would really, really bother me. And then I remember people also talking to me like as if nothing happened, like as if I was on a vacation basically for the last 9 months, as opposed to fighting for my life. Like the way that people address me, some people. Also, I told you, like, certain people that didn't ever say anything to me when I was sick, just acted like I had, like I said, like I had just been on like a Caribbean cruise for 9 months. That really upset me. And I was very open with people if they wanted to know how chemotherapy was or how I was feeling, or, you know, I was just an open person because I felt like it was important to discuss it. Like, I remember I even did like a little presentation about PTSD not only affecting the people you think of, like soldiers, but affecting people like me who have been through medical trauma. I did a presentation like that at work because I wanted to open the conversation around, you know, people having these issues that are younger, that you might not think, that you might look at me and not think anything had ever been wrong with me, but, you know, there was. So I tried my best. And then when it came down to the time when I figured out that I was relapsing, I told you I was trying to go for a job, my old job, and I told you I would calling the guy who was interviewing me saying, it's okay, it's tuberculosis. Like, that's how like messed up my thinking was, or me just trying to push away everything that had just happened. So when I, you know, relapsed, I was really like kind of devastated, but at the same time there was like this weird sense of like, okay, it happened, because every cancer patient has like this invisible gun to their head called relapse that could come back at any time, and it's like they're following you around with this gun, and every time you get a scan the barrel like shifts and it's like, oh, it could go off. I wrote this poem about it. It's something like, relapse, invisible gun to your head, I should have been quicker, this time it went off. Because that's how it is. Like, there is an invisible gun to your head. Every time you get a scan, every time you feel for lumps here, you think, oh, is it gonna go off? Is it my time? And it happened. I relapsed. And so it was like this weird sense of like, okay, now I'm gonna go back into being a patient. I'm getting sucked out of my regular life again. I'm going back into this world of the ill. I remember, like, this is crazy, but if my boss is former boss, and she's not just my boss, she was my friend, is my friend, watching this, I remember going back into work the day that I kind of figured out I probably had relapsed, and I was sitting at my desk and I just started crying. I was like, I have to leave. Like, I don't care about this right now. It's not important to me. I can't do it. I can't pretend and just sit here and act like everything's fine. And I just remembered I walked out that day. She knew, but I walked out and I didn't come back. And I haven't been back since because I've been battling for my life. But then after that, you can see kind of some of my older videos. I was still hung up on this, like, I was just getting back to my life. My hair was just growing back, you know, and this medicine that I first went on, which was brentuximab, it didn't have as many side effects as like regular chemo. So so the thing with mental health, I started seeing a therapist at Mayo Clinic. Thank God they actually have somebody who kind of only works with oncology patients. So I kind of told him, like, I was living in two worlds. I was living in a world where I knew I was sick, and I was living in this other world where things could still look normal. So I still looked normal, and I still, after a certain number of days, could have my energy back. I was still doing stuff. And so I was like, I told him I was like playing this role in two worlds. I was sick, but I wasn't sick. But I was. But in my mind, I put it out of my mind again, because that's what I do. I put it out of my mind. And the time when everything changed is when I got told that treatment wasn't working. And then I got scared. And I have a video called Bad News on here, which is like, I filmed it right after I figured out that treatment wasn't working. That's the time when I really thought to myself, oh, okay, you're probably gonna die because this isn't working. And I got really, really scared. Like, I've never felt like that before. During my entire treatment, I never felt like that until that day. I just remember being like, oh shit, you are sick and you're probably gonna die because this treatment's not working. So that's when I had to start being hospitalized for the chemotherapies. Everything changed after that day. So long story short, with this whole video, I got really upset. I got a lot worse as far as like, I couldn't pretend like things weren't happening. I was bald then. I got really upset. So I started seeing a psychiatrist at the Mayo Clinic too, with the psychologist, which I think is important to see both. And I got on some anxiety medicine, and I kept my It's Wellbutrin, it's for depression. So I'm on both of those medications still. They really, really help me. The Wellbutrin especially has been like a lifesaver. I can tell, like, when I'm not on Wellbutrin, things bother me so much. Like, I've always been an anxious person, and I've always been one of those people that have had really bad anxiety, but I've just dealt with it. But the Wellbutrin, and I think it's like sertraline is what I'm on, and you shouldn't be ashamed to be on medication. I'm just going to tell you that. If you're struggling, like I told you, the medication is not you, it is you. It just puts you back to who you are without crippling anxiety and sadness, pretty much. So yes, I'm on both of those things. That's how I deal now. I do go to therapy as needed. I don't feel like I need it as much these days, because the thing is, I'm now talking like to my husband. I would always like internalize things and I would just invent what I thought other people were thinking, or what I was thinking my husband was thinking, and never really talking about issues. But now I force myself, as uncomfortable as it is sometimes, I force myself to talk with my husband and with other people, tell them how I'm feeling, and kind of talk through things so they don't just like bubble up inside. But it's really hard. Like, I think after I got done with the transplant, I had a lot of PTSD because of the medical part of it, of being in the hospital for over a month, of being so sick. Like, you basically are at the verge of dying, and then they give you back your cells, and that's how you come back, honestly. So I have a lot of PTSD, but the medication has helped, because at first I was having terrible nightmares, flashbacks, all these different things. And once I like told my psychiatrist that, and my psychologist, we've been working through that. I'm still not perfect, believe me. I still have days where like I'm just kind of like zoning out, and like things will come back to me and I'll get upset. And then also, like, the amount of chemotherapy I've had has really hurt my like ability to focus, I guess you can probably tell in these videos. But I can't focus the same as I used to. I hope that one day it's better. But, you know, I kind of just feel like, oh, it's not me anymore. But it is me, but it's a different me. Like, people who are my friends can probably tell, like, I care more about things that are truly important now. And my work, who I am at work, doesn't control or define who I actually am. This experience has forced me to truly, truly look at who I am and find new pieces of me that are the real me, like art, being a mother, I don't know, just all sorts of things that are more true to who I am than who that person used to be. Like, when you're bald and you have no eyelashes and hardly any eyebrows and you're sick as hell, like, you look at yourself and see who you truly are. So this is a very long and winding video response to this question, so hopefully you know what I'm saying in this video. Having cancer is very hard, but there are a lot of hard experiences in life, not just being sick, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to admit that you need help. It's okay to admit that you're not okay, and it's okay to take medication if you need to. There's a stigma in this country about mental health, and there shouldn't be. So if you guys ever have any questions, please leave them below. I'd be happy to answer you. I don't know if all of them warrant a 20-minute video, but it's okay. I will see you guys in the next one. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.